Hello, I'm Seagon,
And I'm Bright Star. And it is February 7th, 2026,
and we're here with the new understanding of God.
that we want to share with you. Um, it's been a beautiful journey, and that has taken us a lifetime to get to this place.
For sure.
And so we want to share a little bit about what it looked like on this journey for us,
Yeah,
and so you have a better understanding of um, what we're talking about, what we've been through, um, maybe what you're going through. So we want to talk about the journey within. Um, we are complicated beings that consist of many
mm,
parts. Uh, we have our physical self, our mental self, our emotional self. Uh, all these parts, like the physical body, the outside is just like the tip of the iceberg. And so I know for me, I wasn't even aware that about the journey with it. I wasn't even aware about going inside for probably the first 25 plus years of my life.
yeah, I think that's common, and some people maybe never.
Yeah. And I know when we started meditating, so actually going into the silence, um, I was amazed at what was going on inside of me that I was actually unconscious of.
Mm,
Um, the ongoing loop of negative self thinking was playing like 24/7 in my head. And I was making my choices and living my life with this in the background, and it was affecting everything. Um, but I didn't even know it was there. So, this idea of going within and starting to look um, is, for me, was transformative.
mm. Yeah, I think that very similar for me. And what came up when you were saying that was garbage in, garbage out.
Uh,
And that so much of my thinking had been uh, a response to what had been put into me and to the conclusions I came to based on um, a lot of negative projections. Uh, and ironically, one of those was about God because I was in a foster home where I was beaten in the name of God. And that made me put up a wall and reject that. But on the other side of that, I kind of rejected everything. Like, I didn't know who I was, I didn't know where I belonged in the world. And I had a lot of wounding that were like shadows inside of me that I wasn't conscious of. And they would come up in my thinking.
yeah.
And it got so painful that by the time I was like 18 or 19 years old, I was violent, self destructive, and honestly didn't even want to be here anymore. I wanted to be out of the pain, drinking, using drugs, and doing anything I could to escape the pain. But in doing those things, I was destroying myself
Mhm.
and sometimes lashing
It wasn't
out.
lessening the pain, was it?
No, and sometimes lashing out in the outer world in ways that got me in trouble.
Yeah.
And it was in the midst of that trouble that I started to say, you know what, I need some help. And otherwise, I don't think I'm going to make it. And and I didn't trust religion because I had been hurt and wounded by that. Um, and so I went to my martial arts school, Kung Fu, where I learned to meditate. And that was the first time going within to a place where I could listen. It's like I feel like going within was just coming to a place where I could just simply be aware. And then that's when I looked at my mind and the emotions and go, oh, that's what's going through my head. I'm thinking these thoughts
Exactly.
that
Yes.
are sabotaging me, that are that I'm hurting myself by my own self thinking. And then I also started to go, where did these thoughts come from? Like a lot of
And why
them,
am I allowing them to live in my mind?
yeah. Like one of them was basically, you're not worthy and you don't belong here. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
And so only then was I be able to begin to start to uh, shine a light into not only those thoughts, but where they were coming from. And they were coming from shadows inside of me because of the ways I was wounded by the world, which was causing me to be angry and violent and all those other things. And so that was the first step of the journey within. And it was so beneficial that I started wanting to return to this place inside myself where I could see more clearly.
Took me a while to get there. Like I when I started looking within, or I when you go to therapy, try to deal with how messed up you are.
Yeah.
For me, it was like picking a scab. It was the worst thing ever. Just bringing the stuff up did nothing but perpetuate the cycle. So talking about it, reliving it, hashing it, didn't make it go away for me. It made me worse. It made me become more uh, unstable. Totally destabilized me, let's say.
Yeah.
And then,
It's like you have a wound
yeah,
and then it's scabbed over so you can function in the world. But
yes,
then the therapy was like just picking
just
at it,
picking at it,
opening
so it
the
just kept
wound,
bleeding, and
bleeding
it
it.
was a mess. Um, but the meditation in the beginning, I would fall asleep. I couldn't stay awake when I was trying to meditate. In my mind, like many people say this, like your thoughts are just bombarding you the whole time. It's very hard in the beginning when you're learning to meditate. How do you quiet the mind? Because the mind is a chattering monkey, always. And then what you're hearing is going on in there, which is so surprising. Um, all that negative self-talk. Um,
Not only is it a chattering monkey, sometimes it's a monkey that's throwing poop at
Great.
you. Sorry.
Oh Lord. Yep. There's that. Uh, I think many times I was standing shit covered.
Yeah. What is this shit?
Yeah. It felt like a minefield at first,
Yeah.
going within. It was like, why would I want to do this?
Well, mine was a minefield that was blowing up on me all the time.
Uh-huh. But you mentioned shining a light on it. And that's what this time of going within and persevering through the difficulty of it
Yeah.
and being aware and just conscious and looking at what was happening in my mind and my emotions. I always thought I was, you know, people tend to be ruled by their mind or ruled by their emotions a lot. When you pick a camp, or you're in a camp, I don't know,
I think you were the emotions, I was the
and you
mind.
were the mind, yeah. And so there still wasn't a balance because that was only one piece of this whole complex being that we are, right?
Yeah.
And we were letting it run the whole ship. When what we found in our true self by going within and looking that there was much more happening beside our thoughts. There was much more happening than our emotions. We were there beyond all that, observing it, watching it, seeing it. And that that began to open up a place where I feel that light, and for me that light is God shining into that darkness within me. That was the therapy I needed that I couldn't get from that I wasn't getting from a counselor. That was the healing that began to happen. Um, the light began as I could see it. I could challenge the thoughts. I could see the emotional reaction and begin to pull myself back. Um, it was a process, but it was I was progressing.
Yeah, and I think that like right there, you made a big leap, and I know in my own journey I made a big leap at some point too, which is basically that my first experience um, of this inner light, and let's say the inner light is awareness, because most of my awareness was clouded by all the things I was thinking and feeling, and as you said, it was going 24/7, so I didn't have a chance to see things clearly. But by slowing down my breath or doing sound, um, I learned to relax, and suddenly I could be aware in the face of the disturbance on the surface of my mind and my heart, and I could see what was happening. So I think to say light is to be aware is the light, and suddenly it's over there and I can see it, and I can start to ask myself questions like, why is this, and do I want to be like this, and how can I heal? But then at some point, that awareness left a space for an even greater awareness to enter into it. And that was the biggest surprise. Because I didn't expect the awareness of God to appear inside of me,
Mm-hmm.
where I noticed that that presence inside of me was part of an even greater presence. And this was nothing like what I had been taught about religion, right? Because religion gives a series of beliefs and doctrines, and you're supposed to believe that, and how you're not okay, but if you do or believe these things, you're going to be okay. But this wasn't like that at all.
Mm-mm.
It was just like, oh, there's my awareness is in the presence of this greater awareness. And it can come into my awareness and light up even more the awareness that I'm shining into my own mind, my own heart, and my own past. And when that greater light is combined with the light that's inside of me, it heals, it integrates, it restores, it brings me back to myself. I can actually call on that greater light to join me in this process of healing and returning to who I authentically am. Like there was a beautiful, peaceful, loving, joyful little boy there at some point. But that boy was the one who took in all this information from the world and a lot of judgment and condemnation, and you're not good enough, and you have to be like this, and you have to be someone today, and if you want to fit in, you've got to be like this, and I became hurt and confused and being hit, didn't even know why I was being hit, and so I became afraid of life, right? I was hiding inside of myself, afraid to come out because I was afraid if I showed myself as who I was, I wouldn't fit in, and I would be rejected. So I was trying to find out how can I be, but that was a false persona. That was just an ego identification, which was kind of like my pass to get into the club to survive and make it in this world.
We have our survival tools,
Yeah.
and they were valuable at the
Yeah.
time because they helped us survive.
Yeah.
But in this relationship with God that we've entered, we see those tools are antiquated now. and I don't have to rely on that. It is this relationship with God that heals me. It is this relationship with God that is my guiding star. It is everything.
Yeah. And like when that awareness came, it wasn't just the awareness. In the awareness, there was a love. And in the awareness, when I felt the love, it restored the part of me that had been wounded, because that awareness of God was communicating to me, I love you exactly as you are, right? And I forgive you for all this lashing out that you've done because you were wounded. And I'm shining a light into your heart, so not only can you receive that forgiveness and be at peace with yourself, but if you'll forgive other people that way, you'll heal these wounds and begin to have the peace of 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 not then judging, hating, resenting, being angry at other people in the world, and being afraid of being in the world. And so, I mean, it's easy to, it was easy for me as a person who had rejected God to go, well, I'll just have the awareness, and that's my spirituality. But what a beautiful thing it was to find that it could be a relationship.
Yes.
That I could speak out, and then I could hear something back that helped me in that restoration process.
That wasn't from my mind.
Right.
Because I began, as you listen, you start to hear your own thoughts. It's like the voice of God has its own resonance.
Yeah.
And you recognize it as, oh, that's not me. And it's only ever at the highest vibration of love. And if you think the voice of God is telling you all this negative stuff, then it's not the voice of God.
Yeah.
It's you projecting your own fears and pain into your thoughts. But the voice of God speaking to us in the way God does, is only at the highest vibration of love, and only for my highest personal growth. That's always God's intention. I don't know. It seems too much to say what God's intention was, but that the result is that I only grow, and I only the pain is released. I only grow closer, and my vibrational level only increases in this relationship.
Yeah, and over these years, since I've come to recognize that voice, so that I know. And as you said, it's always loving, it's always nourishing, it's always uplifting. And also not super chatty. It's usually only like, it's like one thing, one sentence, and it's like, okay, work with that for a couple of years.
And it's enough.
But it's life-changing, right?
Yes.
But as I've shared this a little bit with others, one of the big things that comes up is, but how do I know the difference between this voice? Like, how do I know it's not just a voice in my head versus this deeper voice? And it's by trial and error of entering into a place where you feel a certain vibration, and then you can immediately feel the vibration of the voice.
Yes.
So I know the voice that's self-sabotaging, and I know that that's not the voice of God. I know that that's the shadows in me coming up and telling me messages that are not helpful to me, that are actually oppressing me or keeping me from the truth. I know that probably both of us have heard each other speak, and that we've gone off on this rant about whatever we're going through, And we go, maybe this is all nothing, and I'm not worth anything, and why should I even be here? And then we have to say, sweetheart, that's not the truth. What you're saying now is not the truth. You know the difference, right? And it's hard to hear that, because when we get caught in that other voice, we're totally convinced that that's our reality. But what also comes up for me is sometimes we don't even need a voice. You and I have done this process where we're making a decision, and we share with each other, between two choices, or the choice that we want to make, and then we sit and we reflect on it enough until we feel peace, and then we know, oh, if we both have felt peace, we'll say, okay, we're going to make this choice. So in that case, it's like the communication is a feeling of peace. It doesn't even have to be a word. We don't even have to wait like, oh, you should do this.
Yeah.
Like, well, tell me what I should do. Oh, you should do this. And it's like,
and it does not always come through like that.
It does not always come through like that. So when you have the feeling of peace, well, immediately knowing the feeling of peace makes you know that voice, because that voice is resonant in that same peace.
Yes.
Right. And so then you begin to know, you begin to know the difference between the voices that are in your head, and that's what we have called that still small voice that speaks into your heart and always shows you the greater lesson, the greater truth, the greater way. And is always leading you forward, is always causing you to grow and expand. And then it gains a momentum, because like in any relationship, when you don't know each other, you're far away. But as you enter into relationship, you draw closer and you get to know each other, and true intimacy is born. Like I feel now that my relationship with God is very intimate. But it's because I've worked on it.
Yes.
And there was a time when I didn't even know that it existed, because the way it was presented in the world was like something outside of me talking to me and telling me how I was supposed to be because I was not okay, as opposed to the one that meets me inside. We're talking about the journey within. When I journey within, there's the presence that meets me there, right? That heals and nourishes and talks sweetly and helps me to grow and expand. This one, I would do anything for. And I still don't resonate with the voice outside of me, or someone else telling me that they know the truth for me, because it's often comes out of a place of judgment, or it might be coming from their own shadows and their own wounding, right? And I can't shape myself into that. I'm willing to be shaped from the inside out into this inner guidance that I've learned to trust, right? But not into anyone who's wearing some badge of authority, even in the name of God, who's going to tell me this is how you have to be. And why would I if God meets me in my heart, right? And God has met me in my heart, and that goes to the title of these of this conversation, which is awakening to a new understanding of God.
And I'd say, as we talk about this internal journey and meeting God there, for me, there was this understanding that the grace of God, and understanding that what that word means for me, the grace of God, is we deal with my pain. God is always working with me to free me from that pain in increments, as God knows I'm ready. And sometimes I'm just not willing. Like we have the saying, right? Sometimes I'm holding on to something like my life depends on it, where the truth is my life depends on letting go of it. And whether there's some wounding I'm holding on, or some judgment, or some hurt, that some lack of forgiveness, something I'm holding on to. And I can see it in my awareness now. And I always still personally have a choice whether I am ready to let go of it or not, whether I am ready to work with God with it. And it doesn't take it out of my hands. I am not powerless in the face of the all powerful, but together we can do anything. So for me, that's, people, I think one of the things we hear a lot is people are afraid of having a relationship with God because they think it's going to change them. And it's absolutely going to change them.
But for the better.
But for the better. It's not going to take away who they are. It's not going to take away their own power and their choices. That's still always them.
Yeah.
It's always me.
And one of the ways that God has been portrayed as authoritarian and a controller, and in a sense one that's judgmental. And so then there's this thing is like, one is we want to be in control, so we some people's prayer life is, God, come and make this happen because I want this to happen. Or also like the big question that everyone wrestles with is like, well, if there's a God, then how come all this stuff is happening in the world? And my new understanding is God is not coming into the world to change things, to overrule our choices, and to come in and take control of our will and make us do things.
No, he is not a puppet master, and we are not a puppet.
Right. And it's the opposite. It's total respect. It's total respect for your choices. One is because whatever your choices are, there's lessons you have to learn by making those choices, right?
Yes.
And there's things that your inner wisdom of going, I'm not ready to face this yet. God, in my experience, is totally respectful of that.
Can I tell a story about that? Or are you not finished with that?
Let me just finish just a little bit more.
Yes.
And so that, but on the converse side, that when you open up and you say, I'm ready, then God's ready with you to come in and move it inside of you. And I think that builds trust, right? You're not dealing with a being that is there to overrule you, to control and be an authoritarian over you. You're dealing with a being that wants to come in and expand your being and help you grow, but to do it in your timing, right? Because growth can be painful, and we're not. There's so many things that in the past I wasn't ready to face, and I felt that patience of myself and God to come to that moment where, okay, I'm ready now. And I'm ready to face that. And I'm ready to let that go. Now come in here. Okay, we'll do this together. You're not alone. You don't have to face it alone. So, to your story.
Okay, so this is a How God Works with Me story.
Yeah.
And it's very personal and difficult to talk about, but I've talked about it before at different times, but I think it emphasizes this point brilliantly.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. dealing with the deep wounds that happen when you're a young child, and it's kind of the root. You start there, and so in my deep wounds as a child was sexual abuse. That was really messed me up, as it would. Um, and in I was it a dream? Was it experience? I don't know anymore. But I traveled somewhere of of again a place I'd been several times, of many doors, and I asked God, who was present with me there, to take all those memories and put them in and seal them behind the door, that I couldn't deal with them. I literally have had a 2-year gap of memory that, not coincidentally, my brother has the same 2-year gap in his memory from the same time. So what we survived was so horrible that we couldn't even face it. And I didn't want to know what happened in those 2 years. Like, what I remembered was bad enough. So whatever those 2 years were, like, let's just side dodge that, God. Let's put that in the room. Let's seal it so I just don't have to go in there. And God, I watched as the light came and went around the edge of the door frame, and I saw it sealed in light. And I was happy in my ignorance of not knowing what that was. But what I didn't realize at the time was it didn't go anywhere then. Yeah. I actually sealed it within myself. But even asking for that, God was accommodating, because that's what I said I needed at the time. So my healing happened in fits and starts along the way. But this was always sealed inside of me, which kind of impeded my healing process because it was still there. And you and I took a trip to Findhorn, Scotland, and on this amazing retreat that we did there. And Findhorn is a kind of like a spiritual eco village, let's say. We had heard about it from a pastor at a church who had went there, and we were always interested. And then we read a book about it, and by
Eileen Caddy.
Eileen Caddy, thank you. I was going to say Casey. Eileen Caddy,
who had her own unique relationship with God.
Absolutely,
which was the one that gave birth to that whole.
Gave birth to that whole thing, yeah. And it's an amazing read, and I identified so much with it. Yeah. It was my heart's desire that we go to Findhorn. That I felt like, oh, finally, I'll be in a place I fit in. Like other people with this spiritual understanding and knowledge that's beyond this world, that's not locked in a religion. It will be good. So we went, and it was good. And we met the most beautiful people and had an amazing experience. Until we were playing a game, and kind of getting to know each other game, and it was fun, and everything was fun until there was one game um, that triggered me in a way that I can't even. I don't know if I've ever been triggered into that much pain.
Yeah.
So it's like you had to almost be asleep, and the other person was like moving your body, and so that was my trigger. Things happening while I'm sleeping, and I spiraled into a downward state so fast and so intensely that you were afraid I actually would take my own life.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure I wouldn't. And this was after years and years of work with God.
Yeah. You had come so
I
much
had
into the
come
light,
so far,
and I watched you fall instantly into darkness. And I
so
didn't know how
fast,
to
so fast.
reach out and to pull you out of it. And that's why I was afraid that I would lose you.
I didn't know how to come out of it. And I felt like I lost my mind a little bit. And we were behind a golf course. And I went running like a crazy person, crying, screaming, that I can't take this pain. And the voice of God came to me and said, "You're in this pain because you sealed the door and you won't let me in there. You won't let yourself in there, but you're not letting me in there. It's time to open the door now together, and let's go in together." Well, there was not much option for me at that point. I didn't understand how it could change, but God spoke to me, so I said, "Okay, let's." And He told me to say, um, "Let the memories flow, let the healings flow," something like that. So I'm there in this golf course, hands raised to the heavens, and saying, "Let the memories flow, let the healing flow, let the memories flow, let the healing flow." And I felt the unsealing of this door. And together with God, we entered into this place. And immediately standing there, that pain that I was under was lifted. I didn't have an instant 2-year memory recollection of what happened during that time. I did later have 2 memories from that time that were horrific. And I said, "That's enough." It's good. It's like I can release this pain now without having to be fully conscious of all the other things that happened. I felt. But it was only because I stood there in that darkness, and what was darkness, but God brought the light into it, that I didn't have to carry that pain anymore. And in an instant, I was like, "Oh, I'm okay now." And I went skipping back. And you had been searching for me, afraid I took my life. And I saw you, and I'm like, "I'm okay now."
Yeah. I'm all good.
I'm all good. Um, so, from an absolute choice on my part that God respected not to be able to deal with things, God also saw at that point that I would be able to deal with it with Him. That we had developed this relationship, and
Yeah.
I trusted God when He said, "Can we unseal it and we'll go in together?" It was still a question. It wasn't like He did it and He forced me in.
Yeah.
It was my choice.
Yeah.
And because He told me that's why I was in so much pain, because I wasn't allowing Him in that space with me. that that's what I needed, and I believed him and trusted him, though I couldn't imagine that that intense pain could be gone in an instant, but it was.
Yeah, and it just, to me, we're saying the journey within. It's like we're returning to our own heart. We're moving back into our own heart and our own heart and soul because it wasn't a safe place for us.
No.
And I almost have the image of you hit the first landing of the stairs and you're just standing there willing to be aware but scared and not wanting to go deeper. But as your connection to that greater light increases, you say, okay, now I can go down into those darker places. And those things that we hide away, first of all, I think the hiding away is a survival reflex that nature does. It shuts it off from us. It puts it out of our memory. It becomes subconscious. But though it's hidden in our subconscious and we're not aware of it, it's still pulling levers and strings as to how we're living our life. And to look at it is so painful that that if we look at it from the place of the person who had been wounded, it's overwhelming. But when we gather the light of our awareness, then combined with the awareness of God, then we're strong enough to be in the presence of the pain. But your experience is just like when God's here with me looking at this and I open the door, it's painful, but then it's immediately healed.
Yes.
That the power of God's light immediately heals, right? And literally, like you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay.
Shocking.
And this makes it so that, and I think we're both in this position now, where we're still on this journey, and we're still aware that other things may come up. That maybe some other things were there that we weren't ready to see, or are still waiting to be healed. And so now, rather than resisting it, we're actually enthusiastic when something comes up, because those emotions that come up trigger us that there's some work to be done inside of ourselves.
We get so excited. It's like, ooh, look, I'm agitated. There's work to do.
And so, before the trigger was a trigger that caused us to shut down and run.
Yes.
And now, actually, the trigger triggers us to move forward and to say, let me do even more healing and more work, because to be whole, like our potential as human beings, as divinely conscious beings, doesn't have a limit. And so as we're moving into it, we're always growing and expanding. And that becomes natural, because I think we all have this vision of, I just want to be done. I just want to get to this place and then it's going to be over. But it's far more exciting to just being able to continue to go on the journey, and through the journey within to continue expanding and growing. You're almost like pioneering new ground inside of yourself. And it's so beautiful, because gaining those new understandings of yourself is what helps you to be more loving, more compassionate, more kind to others. Because by having taken the journey yourself, you realize, oh, they're going through that too. And you may recognize somebody else on a part of your own journey, and they're going, you know what, I'm afraid, I just don't want to go there. And then you can say to them, just like God said to you, that's okay. We don't have to open that door. Let's just keep it sealed for now.
Yeah.
Right? When you're ready.
When you're ready.
And then we become, by extension, that same voice of God to others, that treat them with the same loving kindness, the same compassion, the same respect. Because why do we have time and space? Why are we born and then grow into something? for the very reason that it's a journey. There's so many beautiful things to discover through the gift of life. But because human beings have been so fearful and in their fear have wounded each other, and then in their woundedness had become afraid of life and made it like this is a horrible place to be. Um, we're all hiding from ourselves and hiding from the truth of who we truly are. But when you start to come home to it and it starts to be restored and you start to go, oh, and now that same beauty that was in you as a child is being restored, but now with wisdom and understanding, and you faced things in life, and you faced, you know, your own limitations, and you're learning and growing. Then suddenly you become very thankful for the gift of life. I mean, it came to the point where I not only forgave um, my foster parents, who were the ones who abused me, but I actually and this is going to sound horrible, but I even felt grateful for having gone through the experience just because of what it awakened in me and what my um, overcoming of that experience, the gift that it gave me.
Our woundings do become our gems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
And that
opened my
we can
heart
give
to
to others
levels of
then.
compassion
Yes.
that I wouldn't trade. You know, I wouldn't, like, if I could be less compassionate. And I'm not trying to say, and I don't think this is true, that we have to go through those things. I just know that we do, but that the spirit inside of us is strong enough to get through it, and that although it feels at the time like we're going to be crushed, if um, with God present with us, um, there's nothing outside of us that can crush us. And so, you know, now I come from the position of um, nothing can be added to this, and nothing can be taken away. Who I am uh, in the Spirit of God, you know, because God is not something outside of me. God is present with me in my own spirit, and is present for me, for my soul, in what I'm going through, in my mind, in my heart, in my body, in my journey in this life. And it all becomes, you know, integrated as one.
Oh, this relationship is so beautiful with God. It is my lifeblood now. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm so happy we kept looking, and so happy that we have come to this place where I trust God with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny how our prayers have changed, you know, and I think in the beginning our prayers came out of fear and wanting things to go exactly the way we wanted them to. And we'd say, "Oh, make this happen," or, you know, we want it to turn out like this, and now I think we come with a vision of where we're headed and where we want to go. But then we can also at the same time say, but nevertheless, your will be done.
Yeah.
And that we're going to get through it no matter how it turns out, which is a different level of trust.
It is.
Because I think in the beginning, it can be for people that, well, I'll trust God as long as
Nobody
everything
dies.
goes my way, right? Nobody should get sick. Nobody should die. I should never be betrayed. Everything should go my way. And the path of life is not like that,
No.
you know.
No.
And once you've been through it, And once you've gone through it together, then it builds this trust, which is a greater peace. It's like, but I'll get through it.
Yeah.
But I can get through this. That life's not big to me, that too big for me. Like that I can accept it the way it is. And if you're on one side of that, that becomes very threatening to you for someone to say that, or to say that that it's possible to forgive certain things. Well, of course, when you're not ready, then you can be very angry and resentful about that idea, and
Yes.
it's just you showing that, what, I'm not there yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to open that door, as you said so beautifully in your story, and that's okay. But as you do open those doors and you do allow God's love and forgiveness and healing in, you watch that reservoir of anger and resentment slowly dry up, right? And you go, oh, I don't need to live like that anymore. I don't need to live in fear. I don't need to live in anger, right? I don't need to live in a sense of foreboding and depression and darkness. There's a new light
Yeah. I
inside
don't
of
have
me.
to live with the pain that I thought that I actually had become my identity.
Yeah.
Like my pain was so all I knew. And so I couldn't even imagine myself without it.
Yeah.
And so that was part of the holding on to it, because isn't that me? Isn't that who I am? I'm the survivor who went through all this. And
Yeah. And inside myself, I live in a place of freedom. I live in a place of joy. I live in a place of peace. I live in a place of love. And it almost, by saying that, it would project to someone, it's like, oh, you mean you don't go through all of these other things? And the way I experience is all those other things are still here, but they're on the outer edge of my life. And I live in the place where I know I can um, I can navigate them and learn and grow through them. Um, so the same things that I felt in my nerve endings as so close to me that they were devastating and overwhelming, and that I didn't know how I would get through it. There's a place where I now live where I know I'm safe and I'm okay and I'm at peace and I'm already happy, even if nothing happens. That no matter what happens, I know that I can get through it.
so seeing
As
that transformation of yourself on the inside
Yeah,
is miraculous.
yeah,
It's something we couldn't do on our own.
yeah,
We tried.
yeah.
Our way didn't do well.
And it reminds me of this Buddhist story about this person who said, "Well, why does life have to be so painful?" To the Buddhist master, and the master said, "Well, here's take this uh, half cup of salt and pour it in a cup of water, and now try to drink it." And then the person like, "Wah," and they spit it out. And then they go, "Okay, now take that same half cup of salt and put it in this lake, and dip your cup in and drink the water." And then, oh, okay, that's cool and refreshing. I can do that. And it's like, that's how I feel, is that I have more space inside myself.
That's a great analogy.
So the pain is no longer just condensed in this small space I used to have in my being. I've expanded so that whatever pain comes, it's not overwhelming. It can flow in because I've created that space, that deeper space, where where I now live, where I now reside, and it's the place where I am, but it's also the place where God is with me. God being the greater awareness, the greater I am, and we're together as one, facing all of this together, right? And that, has made all the difference. And that's a
Absolutely.
journey. It was the journey within, never knowing what I was going to discover there, right? Because I didn't like what was being presented to me outside of myself. And because of that, I didn't know who I was. And I put on these masks, and I was lost, and I was confused, and I was in pain. But when I made the journey within, I came back to myself and then found what I was connected to, right? And then also see it uh, dancing through creation, and feeling at home in the universe, and that it is a beautiful place. But the veils that come over our mind is what brings those shadows and darknesses into our world. And we know that we live in a world now where those veils are still present over the minds and hearts of so many of our brothers and sisters. And so the suffering continues. But then we can also, as survivors of that, and those who went inside and lifted those veils, to be able to say, yeah, but there's a way out of this. There's a way where you can be healed and restored. And it happens inside of you. Right? And it's a journey worth taking. It's not easy, it's not overnight. It's
But it's absolutely
literally a
worth taking.
lifetime course,
Yes.
but it's a journey worth taking. And when you get to these deeper places that we've shared, you will not be sorry that you set foot on that path back to your own healing, back to your own truth. You don't have to accept our truth. Take the small thread of what truth is for you today and follow that where it goes. And maybe it will go somewhere different, but that little light of truth is what will take you on a journey where it can grow and expand, and you can see the more of it. When you get into that, a greater peace, a greater love, a greater joy, you'll be thankful that you went and took the journey within.
I think that's a perfect place to end.
Yeah.
That was great.
Me too. Yeah.
Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you for talking with me, and
thank you for listening.
The journey continues,
Yep.
and the beautiful relationship that we have with God, but also the beautiful relationship we have with each other continues, and we just want to share it with those of you who are listening to us, and we'll continue to do so. So
hope it helps you begin your own journey.
Yeah. So peace unto you, and
until
we
next
love
time.
you. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.